Jonah chapter 1, verses 11 through 16. Then they said to him, "What shall we do to you that the sea may quiet down for us?" For the sea grew more and more tempestuous. He said to them, "Pick me up and hurl me into the sea. Then the sea will quiet down for you. For I know it is because of me that this great tempest has come upon you." Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to get back to dry land. They could not, for the sea grew more and more tempestuous against them. Therefore they called out to the Lord, "O Lord, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not on us innocent blood, for you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you." So they picked up Jonah and hurled him into the sea, and the sea ceased from its raging. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows. And once again we see the divine action of God in contrast to the inaction and disobedience of Jonah. Notice first that the sailors are reluctant to even throw Jonah overboard. They asked Jonah this question, "What shall we do that the sea may quiet down for us?" And the sea is getting worse and worse, the storm more and more tempestuous. And he says, "Pick me up, hurl me into the sea." And even at this point, Jonah, I think the way we're supposed to interpret this is that if Jonah is going to repent, what he needs to do is tell him, we need to turn around and head back to land. But even this, there's a self-vindication, a self-righteousness, a self-piety, maybe even self-suffering, is that I would rather die than go to Nineveh. And here, he doesn't even say, guys, it's my fault, I'm going to jump overboard. Rather, he says, "You pick me up, you pagans." He doesn't say that, but it's implicit in the text. These are pagan men. He gets on board the ship with them, doesn't want to go to Nineveh, and yet he tells them, "You should pick me up." And there's a sense in which he still wants to have clean hands and maintain his self-righteousness. And he says, that's what you have to do if you want the sea to quiet down for you. And notice the action now of the sailors. Nevertheless, right? Stark contrast, break in the text from Jonah's action. The men still rowed hard. They still did not want to throw Jonah overboard. And they're trying to get back to dry land, but they could not, and the sea grew more and more tempestuous against them. And now comes a key point of this text of Jonah, is that it says, therefore, there's a little symbol for therefore. Always look to what therefore is there for. They called out to the Lord. Notice the Lord in this text is in its capital letters. This is the divine name. This is Yahweh that is being invoked. Now the sailors who once were calling out to God are now calling out to the God. They're calling out to Yahweh. And they've gone from the pagan to now worshiping the true God. And so they call out to Yahweh, "O Yahweh, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not on us innocent blood, for you, O Yahweh, have done as it pleased you." And then they pick him up, and they finally throw him into the sea, and the sea ceases from its raging. And then the men's actions, they do three things. They feared Yahweh, they offered a sacrifice, and they made vows. These three marks of fearing Yahweh, offering a sacrifice and making vows are marks of a good Hebrew, of a good Jew. In other words, these are characteristics. These are identity marks that should have characterized Jonah, but they're not. They're characterizing these pagans who now show themselves to be more noble and more worthy than even Jonah.